She said, "My only son died today. Can I love your children, rancher?" He said, "You can stay forever." Clara Thorne stood on the wooden porch steps, her torn blue dress clinging to her legs like wet paper. Blood caked under her fingernails, dark crescents that caught the dying light. Through the screen door, she watched a man and two children sitting around a kitchen table, their heads bowed over steaming plates. The lamplight made them look like a painting she might have seen in a church somewhere, holy and untouchable. The rancher looked up first. James Mackenzie, 40-something with work-hardened hands and shoulders that carried weight. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth when he saw her silhouette against the evening sky. "You lost, ma'am." Clara pressed her palm against the screen door, leaving a smear. "My only son died today." James set down his fork. The little girl, maybe 8 years old with braids that needed fixing, stared at Clara with wide eyes. The boy, older by a couple years, had his father's cautious expression already settling into his young face. "Jesus, you need the sheriff. Can I love your children, rancher?" The question hung between them like smoke. James pushed back on the table, chair legs scraping against wooden floors. "What kind of question is that?" "The kind a mother asks when she's got nothing left." Clara's voice came out steady, which surprised her. Everything else about her felt broken, splintered like kindling, but her voice held. James approached the screen door slowly, the way you might approach a wounded animal that could still bite. "What happened to your boy?" "Men with badges killed him this morning. Said he was resisting. Said he was dangerous." Clara laughed, but it sounded more like choking. Daniel was 16, skinny as a fence post. Wouldn't hurt a grasshopper. The little girl tugged on her father's shirt. "Daddy, why is the lady crying?" "I'm not crying, sweetheart." Clara wiped her face with the back of her hand, leaving another streak of dry blood on her cheek. "I just forgot how for a minute." James studied her through the mesh. "You sure you don't need medical attention? That blood, it's his blood. Daniel's. I held him while he died on Main Street, right there in the dirt like a dog." Tommy, the boy, stood up from his chair. "Did the bad men get in trouble?" "No, baby. Bad men with badges don't get in trouble. They get covered up by other bad men in suits." Clara's fingers curled around the doorframe. "Sheriff Brennan called it justified. Governor Hadley's already got a story straight for the papers." James reached for the door latch, then stopped. "Ma'am, I don't even know your name." "Clara Thorne. I lived in town until this morning. Don't suppose I live anywhere now." "Where will you go?" Clara looked past him to the children, who had moved closer to their father like chicks seeking shelter. "I was hoping you might tell me." "I can't just... Please." The word came out smaller than she intended. "I watched you through that window for 20 minutes before I knocked. Watched you cut up your little girl's meat. Watched you ruffle your boy's hair when he said something funny. My Daniel used to say funny things." James opened the screen door. "Come inside. We'll figure something out." The kitchen smelled like cornbread and coffee, normal things that made Clara's chest ache. She sat in the chair James pulled out for her, her hands folded in her lap to hide the blood. "You hungry?" James asked. "I can't eat." Lily slid closer. "Mama always made us eat when we were sad." "Your mama's dead?" 3 years now," James said quietly. "Then you know." "Know what?" Tommy asked. Clara looked at him. This boy with Daniel's serious eyes and careful way of holding himself. How quiet the world gets. She reached into her coat and pulled out a bundle of fabric, Daniel's shirt from this morning. The white cotton was stained rust brown, stiff in places where the blood had dried. The children stared as Clara stood and walked to the fireplace. "Ma'am, you don't have to." Clara knelt and pushed the shirt into the cold ashes, then struck a match. The flame caught quickly, hungry for something to consume. "I can't take it with me. Can't leave it behind. This is the only choice left." The fire grew, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Clara watched Daniel's shirt curl and blacken, releasing him into smoke and memory. The children moved closer, drawn by the flames and the strange ritual of this broken woman in their kitchen. Sheriff Brennan knows what he did, Clara said, still watching the fire. Governor Hadley's going to pay for covering it up. But tonight, I just want to sit somewhere that feels like home. James cleared his throat. You can stay the night. We've got a spare room upstairs. Clara turned from the fireplace. Daniel's shirt now nothing but ash and ember. What if I don't want to leave tomorrow? We'll talk about tomorrow when it comes. But Clara was already settling into the rhythm of this house, memorizing the way Tommy fidgeted when he was thinking and how Lily hummed under her breath. She was learning the sound of James's footsteps and the way the lamplight fell across the kitchen table. Tomorrow felt very far away, and Clara intended to keep it that way. James woke to the smell of bacon and coffee drifting up the stairs. For a moment, in that space between sleep and waking, he thought Sarah was downstairs making breakfast like she used to. Then he remembered. Sarah was 3 years dead, and a stranger was in his kitchen. He found Clara at the stove, her back to him as she flipped pancakes with practiced ease. She had changed into one of Sarah's old dresses, pale yellow with tiny flowers, and her hair was pinned up the way his wife used to wear hers. The children sat at the table, already dressed and eating, as if this was their normal routine. "Morning, Daddy." Lily sat around a mouthful of pancake. "Sleep well?" Clara asked without turning around. Tommy had a nightmare round, too, but I got him settled back down. James felt something cold crawl up his spine. How did you know about his nightmares? Children talk when they can't sleep. He told me about the bad dreams, about the monsters under his bed. Clara set a plate in front of James. Eggs over easy, just like Sarah used to make them. I taught him a song to chase them away. Tommy nodded enthusiastically. She knows the lullaby Mama used to sing, the one about the mockingbird. How do you know that song? Clara finally turned to face him. Most mothers know that song, James. You're not their mother. No, but I could be. The words hung in the air like a threat or a promise. James looked at his children, who were watching this exchange with the careful attention kids develop when adults started fighting in whispers. After breakfast, James went outside to check on the cattle. When he came back an hour later, he found Clara in the living room, sitting on the floor with Lily between her knees. Clara's fingers moved through his daughter's hair, separating it into sections, weaving into the same intricate braids Sarah used to make. "Stop." The word came out harder than he intended. Clara's hands paused. She asked me to braid it. "Not like that." "Like what?" "You know what?" James crossed the room, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. "That's Sarah's braid. That's how Sarah did her hair." Lily twisted around to look at her father. "But I like it this way. Mama always did it this way." "Lily, go play outside." "But Daddy..." "Now!" Lily ran outside, the screen door slamming behind her. Clara remained on the floor, her hands folded in her lap. "You can't replace her." "I'm not trying to replace anybody." "Then what are you doing?" "Learning how to love again." James stared at her, this woman who had appeared on his porch like a curse made flesh. "You don't know anything about my family. I know Tommy still sleeps with his mother's scarf. I know Lily talks to her mama's picture when she thinks nobody's listening. I know you keep Sarah's coffee cup on the shelf, but you never use it." Clara stood up slowly. "I know what it looks like when people are drowning and missing somebody. You've been here one night. Long enough to see her all dying a little bit every day." James felt his hands clench into fists. "You need to leave." "Can't do that." "Why not?" Clara walked to the window, looking out at the children playing in the yard. "Because Daniel isn't really dead yet. Not until I finish what he started." "What are you talking about?" "My boy wasn't the saint I made him out to be last night. Daniel was mixed up in something bad. Federal relief money went missing after floods last spring. Money meant for families who lost everything." Clara's voice got quieter. "Daniel found out where it went." "Where?" "Governor Hadley's personal accounts. Sheriff Brennan's, too. They've been skimming disaster funds for months." James felt the room tilt slightly. "How do you know this?" "Daniel had letters. Proof. He was to sell them to the highest bidder instead of doing the right thing." Clara laughed bitterly. 16 years old, and already corrupt as the rest of them. but he was still my son. So Brennan killed him for it. Brennan killed him to shut him up, called it resisting arrest, but Daniel wasn't armed, wasn't running, just had a backpack full of evidence that could destroy half the county government. Where are the letters now? Clara smiled for the first time since arriving. Safe place. That afternoon, James found Clara behind the house at Sarah's grave. She had pulled the weeds from around the headstone and planted wildflowers along the base. Her hands were dirty, and she was humming softly. She was beautiful, Clara said without looking up. I can see her in both children. James knelt beside her. You had no right. Sarah Elizabeth Mackenzie, beloved wife and mother. Clara traced the carved letters with one finger. She died young. Cancer. I'm sorry. They sat in silence for a while, surrounded by the wildflowers and the weight of the dead. Through the kitchen window, James could see Tommy and Lily watching them, their faces pressed against the glass. Those children are confused. James said, children adapt. It's adults who get stuck. Clara, you can't stay here forever. She turned to look at him then, her eyes clear and determined. Yes, I can. This isn't your home. It is now. James felt something shift in the air between them, like the moment before lightning strikes. Clara wasn't asking for permission anymore. She was telling him how things were going to be. I'm not leaving, James. Not until Brennan and Hadley pay for what they did to Daniel. And maybe not even then. Clara stood up, brushing dirt from her dress. This family needs me as much as I need them. James watched her walk back toward the house, toward his children who were already opening the door for her. She moved like she belonged there, like she had always belonged there. He stayed by Sarah's grave until the sun started to set, trying to figure out when it stopped being the one making decisions about his own life. The sound of gravel crunching under tires broke the morning quiet. Clara looked up from where she was teaching Lily to braid friendship bracelets on the porch steps, her body going rigid as a sheriff's cruiser rolled to a stop in front of the house. Sheriff Brennan stepped out, his uniform crisp despite the dust, his hand resting on his gun belt. Clara Thorne, he called out. Been looking for you. James appeared in the doorway behind them, Tommy close at his side. Morning, Sheriff. Something wrong. Brennan's eyes never left Clara. Need to have a word with Mrs. Thorne here about some missing property. What kind of property? Clara asked. The kind that belongs to dead boys who shouldn't have had it in the first place. Clara stood up slowly, brushing dust from her skirt. I don't know what you mean. Sure you do. Daniel had something that wasn't his. Now I need it back. James stepped forward. Sheriff, maybe you should. Stay out of this, Mackenzie. This is between me and the lady. Clara felt Lily's small hand slip into hers. Run inside, sweetheart. Take your brother. I want to stay with you, Lily whispered. Go on now. Everything's going to be fine. The children reluctantly went inside, but Clara could see their faces press against the window. Brennan climbed the porch steps, his boots heavy on the wood. Your boy was blackmailing the governor. Clara, did you know that? Daniel was trying to expose corruption. Daniel was trying to get rich off it. There's a difference. James moved closer to Clara. What exactly are you accusing a dead kid of? Brennan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Kid found out about some missing federal money. Instead of reporting it like a good citizen, he decided to auction off the information. Governor Hadley, me, couple other folks were about to pay through the nose to keep him quiet. Clara felt something cold spread through her chest. That's not true. Your boy was no hero, Clara. He was my son. That doesn't make him good. Good enough for me? Brennan shook his head. I didn't want to kill him, but he got greedy. Started making threats. Said he'd go to the newspapers if we didn't pay more. So you shot him. I defended my community from a little parasite who would have brought down half the county government for pocket money. Clara's hand tightened on the porch railing. He was 16, old enough to know better. James stepped between them. Sheriff, I think you should leave. Not without those letters. Clara's got them, and I'm not walking away empty-handed. Clara stared at Brennan. seeing him clearly for the first time, not a corrupt lawman covering up his crimes, but a man who thought he was protecting something bigger than himself. The worst kind of killer, the kind who slept well at night. "The letters are in the house," she said quietly. "Clara, don't," James warned. "It's okay." Clara looked at the children watching through the window, their faces full of worry and love. They deserved better than this. She went inside and returned with a small wooden box, the same box where she used to keep Daniel's baby teeth and report cards. Inside were a dozen letters in official envelopes, proof of embezzlement and fraud that could destroy careers and send men to prison. Brennan reached for the box, but Clara pulled it back. "I want to know something first." "What?" "When you killed my son, did he say anything?" Brennan was quiet for a long moment. "He said to tell you he was sorry." Clara nodded and handed him the box. Brennan opened it, counted the letters, then tucked it under his arm. "Smart woman," he said. "Now you can move on with your life." "I already have." After Brennan left, Clara sat on the porch steps with her head in her hands. James sat beside her, the children hovering in the doorway. "You did the right thing," he said. "Did I?" "Daniel's dead, and the men who killed him walk free. Your son made his choices. Now you get to make yours." Clara looked up at Tommy and Lily, who were watching her with the kind of fierce loyalty she hadn't felt since Daniel was small. "What if I choose wrong again? Then we'll figure it out together." That evening, they sat around the kitchen table for dinner. Clara had made pot roast with vegetables from Sarah's garden, and the children chatted about their day as if this was normal, as if broken women often appeared on their porch and decided to stay. "Can I love your children?" Clara asked James as they cleared the dishes. He looked at Tommy helping Lily with her math homework, at the easy way they had accepted this strange woman into their lives, at the way the house felt full again for the first time in years. "You can stay forever." Later, after the children were in bed, Clara taught them a new lullaby, not the mockingbird song, but something gentler, about rivers that carried things away and stars that watched over sleeping children. Tommy and Lily learned the words quickly, their young voices blending with hers in the lamplight. The song was about letting go instead of holding on, about finding new families in unexpected places, about the way love could grow in the spaces grief had hollowed out. Clara sang it softly, her voice carrying all the way upstairs where James listened from the hallway, finally understanding that some ghosts came not to haunt, but to heal.